My mother climbed through my second-floor window using a trellis because I changed the locks on my apartment door. When I called to confront her, she said, "Well, your door was locked. What else was I supposed to do? I made you dinner." I'm Katherine, and I'm 26 years old. Let me say that again, 26. An adult with a job, an apartment, a life. But my parents didn't see it that way. The breaking and entering started small. So small I almost missed it. I'd come home from work and notice a blanket folded differently than I left it. A dish washed and put away in the wrong cabinet. The faint smell of my mom's lotion hanging in the air. Then I started finding food. Casseroles in my fridge with little notes attached. "You work too hard. Eat something real. Love you." The handwriting was sweet. The violation wasn't. See, when I moved into my first apartment downtown, I thought I'd finally made it. Clean space, white walls, sunlight through the blinds. My own beginning. On move-in day, my mom Barbara asked for a spare key. "Just in case of emergencies," she said, brushing my hair back like I was still a child. I hesitated. But guilt works fast in families like mine, so I handed it over. That was my first mistake. Growing up, privacy wasn't a thing in our house. My mom would rearrange my backpack because she didn't like how I organized it. My dad David backed her up on everything. They monitored my phone calls, read my diary when they thought I wasn't looking, showed up at my friends' houses unannounced to check in. They called it love. I called it suffocating. But I was a kid, so what I called it didn't matter. I remember being 12, standing in the kitchen after school, and finding my mom going through my backpack. Not looking for something specific, just looking. When I asked what she was doing, she said, "Making sure you're organized properly." Like my way of doing things was wrong by default. When I got upset, my dad would tell me I was being dramatic. "Your mother cares about you. Why can't you just appreciate that?" I learned early that my feelings were inconvenient. That saying no was disrespectful. That boundaries were something ungrateful children demanded. When I hit my 20s and moved out, I thought things would change. They didn't. They just found new ways to control me. For the first few weeks in my apartment, I felt different. Lighter. I could leave a coffee cup on the counter without someone moving it. I could buy the groceries I wanted. I could exist without constant supervision. Then the intrusion started. The first time I noticed something off, I convinced myself I was imagining it. Maybe I had folded that towel differently. Maybe I forgot I'd rearranged the kitchen. But the signs kept piling up, each one a little more obvious than the last. The intrusions got worse. I'd come home to find my laundry done and folded on my bed. Socks paired, shirts smooth, everything arranged with the kind of precision only my mom possessed. My chest got tight just looking at it. I called her immediately, my voice already shaking. "Were you in my apartment today?" "Of course, honey. Your hamper was overflowing. I couldn't leave it like that. You can't just come in whenever you want." "Katherine, don't be ridiculous. You were at work. It's not like you were using the place." That sentence hit me hard. Like I didn't own my apartment unless I was physically standing in it. Like my existence only counted when it was convenient for her. I tried to explain how violated I felt. She cut me off. "Violated? I'm your mother. I changed your diapers. Don't talk to me about privacy." That was her go-to line. As if raising me gave her permanent ownership of my life. A few days later, I found my fridge completely restocked with groceries I never bought. Meal prep containers, vegetables washed and cut, even my condiments reorganized by expiration date. Most people would think that's sweet. To me, it felt like someone had their hands around my throat. I stood in front of that open fridge for 10 minutes, just staring. This wasn't help. This was a message. I can come in whenever I want. You can't stop me. Then came the morning I walked into my bathroom and saw a bottle of expensive purple shampoo on the shelf. Salon only. Definitely not mine. My sister Ashley used that brand. My heart started pounding. I called her, trying to keep my voice calm. "Did you stay at my place?" A pause. "Yeah, Mom said it was fine. I had a late shift and didn't want to drive home. She doesn't live here. You should have asked me. I mean, you weren't home. What's the big deal?" "The big deal is this is my apartment, Ashley. Not Mom's. Mine." She sighed like I was overreacting. God, Katherine. You're acting crazy. It was one night. There it was again. That same dismissiveness my mom wielded like a weapon. My space didn't matter. My consent didn't matter. My feelings didn't matter. When I tried to explain why it was wrong, Ashley got defensive. You know what? Maybe if you weren't so uptight about everything, Mom wouldn't feel like she has to take care of you. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. I drove to my parents' house that afternoon, ready to demand the key back. But the moment I stepped inside, the familiar scent of beef stew and the sound of my dad watching TV pulled me back into old patterns. Obedience. Guilt. Silence. My mom was in the kitchen, acting completely normal. When I brought up the key, she looked hurt. You want to take away my emergency access? What if something happens to you? Nothing's going to happen to me. You don't know that. You could fall in the shower. You could have a medical emergency. What if we can't get to you? My dad walked in, reinforcing her point. Your mother has a right to worry. You're being paranoid. I'm not being paranoid. I'm asking for basic respect. Respect. My mom's voice went sharp. I gave birth to you. I raised you. I'm trying to make sure you're eating properly and you're throwing it back in my face. The guilt landed exactly where she aimed it. Right in my chest. Ashley avoided looking at me the entire time, scrolling through her phone like nothing was happening. I left with nothing resolved and a knot in my stomach that felt like it might never untie. So I changed the locks. Problem solved, right? I called a locksmith the next day. Paid extra for same-day service. When he installed the new deadbolt, I felt something close to relief. Finally. A barrier they couldn't cross. 2 weeks of peace. I started to hope they'd finally understood. Then one Thursday evening, I opened my apartment door and stopped cold. My mom was sitting on my couch. Comfortable. Calm. Sipping tea like she owned the place. She held up a shiny new key and smiled. I called your landlord. He gave me this. I needed access in case of emergencies. My vision blurred at the edges. You called my landlord. Of course. I explained that I'm your mother and need to check on you. He understood completely. Such a nice man. That's not his decision to make. Well, you weren't being reasonable, so I had to take matters into my own hands. Something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Quietly. The way ice breaks under pressure. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw her out. But I just stood there, frozen, as she sipped her tea and told me about the chicken soup she'd left in my fridge. I changed the locks again the next day. But this time, something in me changed too. I started researching my rights as a tenant. I started documenting every intrusion. I started planning. I thought nothing could surprise me anymore. I was wrong. 3 weeks after the landlord incident, I came home and noticed my living room window cracked open. The screen was on the floor like someone had ripped it out in a hurry. My heart stopped. I checked every room, expecting to find evidence of a break-in. My laptop was still on the desk. My jewelry box untouched. Nothing missing. Then I saw the casserole on my counter. Still warm. Covered with foil. A sticky note on top in my mom's handwriting. You're not eating enough. My hand started shaking. I called her, trying to keep my voice steady. Did you climb up to my window? Silence. Then an offended scoff. Well, your door was locked. What else was I supposed to do? I made you dinner. You climbed a trellis to break into my apartment. Don't be dramatic, Katherine. If you would stop changing the locks like some rebellious teenager, I wouldn't have to. My voice went cold. This is illegal. This is motherhood, she corrected, like those two things weren't mutually exclusive. When I called my dad, hoping for some sanity, he sighed like I was the unreasonable one. She worries about you. Just give us a key. You're making this harder than it has to be. She climbed through my window, Dad. Because you keep shutting her out. If you just communicate better. I hung up before my anger spilled into something I couldn't take back. It wasn't about the food or laundry anymore. It was about ownership. They felt entitled to every corner of my life. Entitled to override every boundary I set. Entitled to treat me like property instead of a person. That night, lying awake with the window locked and curtains drawn tight, I realized something terrifying. I could change the locks 100 times and they'd find another way in. A landlord. A window. A trellis. They didn't believe I deserved privacy. And as long as they knew where I lived, they'd keep proving it. The only way to get my peace back was to become unreachable. The next morning, I toured a building in the Pearl District. Tall, modern tower with a doorman named Frank who scanned every guest, every package, every unfamiliar face. Everything about the place whispered one thing I desperately needed: safety. The building manager explained the security protocols. No guest access without resident approval. Video monitoring in all common areas. Controlled entry points. I signed the lease that afternoon. For 2 weeks, I packed in secret. No social media posts. No moving truck parked outside. Just my friends Claire and Taylor carrying boxes down the stairs one by one, whispering encouragement like soldiers helping me escape a war I'd been pretending wasn't happening. Claire asked me once if I was sure about this. "It's pretty extreme, Kate." "They climbed through my window," I said. "How much more extreme can it get?" She hugged me and kept carrying boxes. By sunset, my old apartment was empty. Every trace of me gone. I wiped the counters, turned off the lights, and stood in the doorway one last time. Not sad. Not nostalgic. Just done. I dropped the keys in the landlord's mailbox and walked away without looking back. They thought they could enter my life whenever they wanted. Soon they were going to learn what it felt like when I finally shut the door. For the first 2 days, my phone buzzed non-stop. Missed calls, texts, voicemails. At first, they were casual. "How's your day? Call us when you're free." By day 3, the tone shifted. "Katherine, answer your mother. This isn't funny. Call us immediately." I didn't respond. Silence, I realized, was the only language they didn't know how to manipulate. On the 4th day, the notifications stopped altogether. My phone sat quiet on my new kitchen counter. I made tea. I unpacked. I arranged my books on the shelf in an order that only I would touch. Frank nodded at me each morning as I passed through the lobby. "Good afternoon, miss." Polite. Respectful. The distance my parents never mastered. For the first time in months, I could breathe all the way into my lungs. But calm never holds forever. On the 6th day, my phone erupted. 20 missed calls in a row. My stomach tightened. I forced myself not to answer. Then a voicemail preview caught my eye. "Katherine, your apartment. Everything's gone." "Where are you?" They were at my old apartment. I walked to the window, gripping my phone so tight my knuckles turned white. I imagined it. The empty living room. The stripped shelves. The bare floors. My parents standing in the doorway, confronted not just with absence but with the reality they'd created themselves. Another voicemail came. My mom's voice was shrill, breaking. "Oh God, Katherine, did someone take you? Your things are gone. The place is empty. Please, please call us, sweetheart." I closed my eyes. This wasn't satisfaction. Not exactly. But it was a shift. A balance tipping. They weren't in control anymore. I let another day pass. Then another. On the 3rd day, I finally called them back. My mom answered so fast I didn't even hear the first ring. "Katherine. Katherine, where are you? What is going on? We went to your apartment and it was empty. Do you hear me? Empty." I kept my voice steady. "Why were you at my apartment?" Stunned silence crackled through the line. My dad's voice burst in, sharp with accusation. "We hadn't heard from you in days. We were worried. We had every right to check on you." "No," I said quietly. "You didn't." My mom's voice returned, frantic. "Katherine, stop this. Tell us where you are. Right now." "No." The word landed like ice. "No," she repeated, like it was physically impossible to process. "No," I said again. "You don't get to know where I live." My dad inhaled sharply. "Excuse me. You heard me. This is insane," he snapped. "We are your parents. And you treated my home like it was yours," I replied. "You walked in whenever you wanted. You rearranged things. You let Ashley stay over without asking. You got a new key behind my back." Mom climbed up a trellis. "A trellis, Dad. My mom gasped. That was one time. That should never have happened once. Silence again. Not angry. Not dramatic. The kind that meant they finally heard the truth in my voice. I continued. You didn't worry about me. You worried about losing control of me. Those are not the same thing. That's not fair, my dad muttered. Fair? You want fair? Fair would have been respecting my boundaries years ago. Fair would have been treating me like an adult. Fair would have been listening when I said no. But you didn't. So now I'm doing the only thing left. My mom's breathing shook. Katherine, please. Just tell us you're safe. Please. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I've been sick with worry. Her guilt tactics. The tears. The emotional spirals. All the things that had always pulled me back into their orbit washed over me like a wave that finally had no power to drag me under. I'm safe, I said. But I'm safe because I'm away from you. She sobbed. Loud, messy crying that once would have broken me. Now it just sounded like noise. My dad whispered something I never expected to hear. I didn't know it was this bad. I swallowed hard. You didn't want to know. For a long moment, no one spoke. They were processing something new. Something uncomfortable. Something undeniable. I had changed. And the door they once walked through freely was no longer theirs. My mom sniffed. Katherine, please. We just want to talk face to face. Then we can meet in public, I said. A cafe downtown. Neutral space. No more home visits. Ever. You don't trust us, she whispered. I don't trust your boundaries, I corrected. Because you don't have any. Another silence. But this time it felt less like resistance and more like surrender. My mom finally said, okay. That word did something small but real in my chest. It didn't fix the past. It didn't erase the violations. But it was acknowledgement. And acknowledgement was a step. Good, I said softly. I'll text you a time and place. We'll talk then. But your address, my dad tried one last time. One final grasp at the old power. Shouldn't we know where you live in case? No, I said. You will not have a key to my home. You will not have access to my home. My home is mine. He exhaled slowly. All right. And just like that, the balance shifted entirely. Not with shouting. Not with slamming doors. But with a quiet, steady reclaiming of myself. After the call ended, I set my phone down and looked around my new apartment. Soft light spilled across the floor. The city hummed below. My things were exactly where I left them. My air was only mine. My silence wasn't avoidance. It was protection. For the first time in my life, my world felt whole and owned by no one but me. We met 3 days later at a small cafe downtown. The kind with soft lighting and tables spaced far enough apart that no one had to whisper. I arrived early, choosing a seat by the window where I could see them walk in. My hands weren't shaking. My stomach wasn't tight. For the first time, I felt firmly rooted in myself. When my mom and dad entered, they looked smaller somehow. Tired. Cautious. Stripped of the certainty they'd always worn like armor. My mom hesitated before sitting, like she wasn't sure she was allowed to occupy the space across from me. The conversation began quietly. No accusations. No tears. Just halting sentences and long pauses. My mom started first. I've been thinking a lot about what you said. About control. I waited. Didn't make it easier for her. I didn't see it that way, she continued. I thought I was helping. Being a good mother. By breaking into my apartment. She flinched. When you say it like that, it sounds terrible. It was terrible. My dad cleared his throat. We thought you needed us. The way you always did when you were younger. I'm not younger anymore. I haven't been for a long time. He nodded slowly. I'm starting to understand that. My mom's eyes were red. I just wanted to take care of you. Taking care of me means respecting me, I said. Not controlling me. She looked down at her coffee. I don't know how to do that. Then learn, I said. Not mean. Just honest. Because I'm not going back to how things were. My dad admitted he hadn't understood how suffocating their actions were. My mom said she realized she'd been treating me like a child who needed constant supervision instead of an adult capable of living her own life. I didn't rush to make them feel better. I didn't smooth over the discomfort. I simply told the truth. I need boundaries if we're going to have any kind of relationship. They both nodded. Slow. Reluctant. But sincere. We made an agreement. We would meet in public for now. No surprise visits. No keys. No access to my home. Respect goes both ways, and trust can only be rebuilt, not demanded. My mom asked if we could do dinner once a month, somewhere neutral. We can try that, I said. But if you push, if you overstep, I'm gone again. And next time I won't come back. We understand, my dad said. When we parted, my mom hugged me gently. Carefully. As if she finally understood I wasn't something she could hold too tightly. My dad whispered, "We'll try." And for once, I believed him. I walked back to my new apartment with a lightness I hadn't felt in years. The lobby was quiet. Frank greeted me with his usual nod. And as I closed the door behind me, locking it with keys that belonged only to me, I realized something simple and profound. Peace isn't something you find. It's something you protect. Looking back, I used to think love meant allowing everything, even the things that hurt. Now I know love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's ownership. By walking away, I finally made room for something healthier to grow. Not just with them, but within myself. It's been 6 months now. We've had dinner 3 times. Each time was a little less awkward. My mom still wants to help, but now she asks first. My dad still worries, but he doesn't show up unannounced. They'll never have my address. They'll never have a key. And I'm okay with that. Because home isn't a place your parents have access to. Home is a place where you finally feel safe. Thanks for listening, and if this story resonates with you, don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about breaking free and choosing yourself. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is close a door that was never meant to stay open.